Hey, fourth graders, happy Wednesday. I hope you guys are having a great week. We are continuing our book about August in Wonder. And yesterday was really exciting for me. I've been waiting to get to this part of the book because the first part of our book was all told from August's point of view about his story and his experience and his feelings, right? And what he's seeing with his eyes. But our narrator has switched. And now our narrator is Via, August's older sister, and she kind of talks about what it's like having a brother who has a lot of disabilities and who has some visual deformities on his face, and how that has impacted her life and her family, and when everybody else is seemingly normal, what it's like having somebody in the family and how it affects everybody. So I'm going to read the next 2 chapters. And yesterday she kind of talked about her life before August and everything like that. So let's keep hearing about Via's experience and what it's like having her brother August and living with him and how it has affected her life. This chapter is called Seeing August. I never used to see August the way other people saw him. I knew he didn't look exactly normal, but I really didn't understand why strangers seemed so shocked when they saw him. Horrified, sickened, scared. There are so many words I could use to describe the looks on people's faces, and for a long time, I didn't get it. I just get mad. Mad when they stared, mad when they looked away. What the heck are you looking at? I'd say to people, even grown-ups. Then, when I was about 11, I went to stay with Grands in Montauk for 4 weeks while August was having his big jaw surgery. This was the longest I've ever been away from home, and I have to say it was so amazing to suddenly be free of all that stuff that made me so mad. No one stared at Grands and me when we went to town to buy groceries. No one pointed at us. No one even noticed us. Grands was one of those grandmothers who do everything with their grandkids. She'd run into the ocean if I asked her to, even if she had nice clothes on. She would let me play with her makeup and didn't mind if I used it on her face to practice my face painting skills. She'd take me for ice cream even if we hadn't eaten dinner yet. She'd draw chalk horses on the sidewalk in front of her house. One night, while we were walking back from town, I told her that I wished I could live with her forever. I was so happy there. I think it might have been the best time in my life. Coming home after 4 weeks felt very strange at first. I remember very vividly stepping through the door and seeing August running over to welcome me home. And for this tiny fraction of a moment, I saw him not the way I've always seen him, but the way other people see him. It was only a flash, an instant while he was hugging me. So happy that I was home. But it surprised me because I'd never seen him like that before, and I never felt what I was feeling before either. A feeling I hated myself for having the moment I had it. But as he was kissing me with all his heart, all I could see was the drool coming down his chin. And suddenly there I was like all those people who would stare or look away, horrified and sickened and scared. Thankfully, that only lasted for a second. The moment I heard August laugh, his raspy little laugh, it was over. Everything was back the way it had been before. But it had opened a door for me, a little peephole. And on the other side of the peephole, there were 2 Augusts. The one I saw blindly and the one other people saw. I think the only person in the world I could have told any of this to was Grands, but I didn't. It was too hard to explain over the phone. I thought maybe when she came for Thanksgiving, I'd tell her what I felt. But just 2 months after I stayed with her in Montauk, my beautiful Grands died. It was so completely out of the blue. Apparently, she had checked herself into the hospital, but she'd been feeling nauseous. Mom and I drove out to see her, but it's a 3-hour drive from where we live, and by the time we got to the hospital, Grands was gone. A heart attack, they told us. Just like that. It's so strange how one day you can be on this earth, and the next day, not. Where did she go? Will I ever really see her again, or is that a fairy tale? You see movies and TV shows where people receive horrible news in hospitals. But for us, with all of our many trips to the hospital with August, there had always been good outcomes. What I remember the most from the day Grands died is Mom literally crumpling to the floor in slow, heaving sobs, holding her stomach like like someone had just punched her. I've never, ever seen Mom like that. Never heard sounds that come out of her. Even through all of August's surgeries, Mom always put on a brave face. On my last day in Montauk, Grands and I had watched the sunset on the beach. We had taken a blanket to sit on, but it had gotten chilly. So we wrapped it around us and cuddled and talked until there wasn't even a sliver of sun left over the ocean. And then Grands told me she had a secret to tell me. She loved me more than anyone else in the world. Even August? I asked. She smiled and stroked my hair, like she was thinking about what to say. I love Augie very, very much, she said softly. I can still remember her Portuguese accent, the way she rolled her R's. But he has many angels looking out for him already, Via, and I want you to know that you have me looking out for you. Okay, menina quierde. I want you to know that you are number one for me. You are mine. She looked out at the ocean and spread her hands out like she was trying to smooth out the waves. You are my everything. You understand me, Via? Tu es muy todo. I understood her, and I knew why she said it was a secret. Grandmothers aren't supposed to have favorites. Everyone knows that. But after she died, I held on to that secret and let it cover me like a blanket. Ooh. Oh, that story is like, that chapter is so chilling to me. That like she lost her grandma and how close they were and that connection. I just can't even imagine. I'm lucky my grandparents are still alive, but I can't even imagine like having that security and of somebody who you just know is like there for you, and to be gone, that's just awful. All right, let's read this next chapter. August through the peephole. Remember the peephole that she just talked about in the last chapter, how she looks at him and she feels like blind. She doesn't notice his deformity. She doesn't notice his the things that he has wrong with him. But when she says through the peephole, she's talking about August, what other people see. So through the peephole means what other people see. Okay. His eyes are about an inch below where they should be on his face, almost to halfway down his cheeks. They slant downward at an extreme angle, almost like diagonal slits that someone cut into his face. And the left one is noticeably lower than the right one. They bulge outward because his eye cavities are too shallow to accommodate them. The top eyelids are always halfway closed, like he's on the verge of sleeping. The lower eyelids sag so much they almost look like a piece of invisible string is pulling them downward. You can see the red part on the inside, like they're almost inside out. He doesn't have eyebrows or eyelashes. His nose is disproportionately big for his face and kind of fleshy. His head is pinched in on the sides where his ears should be, like someone used giant pliers and crushed the middle part of his face. He doesn't have cheekbones. There are deep creases running down both sides of his nose to his mouth, which gives him a waxy appearance. Sometimes people assume he's been burned in a fire. His features look like they've been melted, like the drippings on the side of a candle. Several surgeries to correct his lip have left a few scars around his mouth, the most noticeable one being the jagged gash running from the middle of his upper lip to his nose. His upper teeth are small and splay out, and he has a severe overbite and an extremely undersized jawbone. He has a very small chin. When he was very little, before a piece of his hip bone was surgically implanted into his lower jaw, he really had no chin at all. His tongue would just kind of hang out of his mouth with nothing underneath to block it. Thankfully, it's better now. He can eat at least. When he was younger, he had a feeding tube, and he can talk. And he's learned to keep his tongue inside his mouth, though that took him several years to master. He's also learned to control the drool that used to run down his neck. These are considered miracles. When he was a baby, the doctors didn't think he'd live. He can hear too. Most kids born with these types of birth defects have problems with their middle ears that prevent them from hearing. But so far, August can hear well enough through his tiny cauliflower-shaped ears. The doctors think that eventually he'll need to wear hearing aids, though. August hates the thought of this. He thinks that hearing aids will get noticed too much. I don't tell him that the hearing aids would be the least of his problems, of course, but I'm sure he knows this. Then again, I'm not really sure what August knows or doesn't know, what he understands and doesn't understand. Does August see how other people see him? Or has he gotten so good at pretending not to see that it doesn't bother him? Or does it bother him? When he looks in the mirror, does he see the Augie mom and dad see, or does he see this Augie that everyone else see? Or is there another August he sees? Someone in his dreams behind this misshapen head and face? Sometimes when I looked at Grans, I could see the pretty girl she used to be underneath the wrinkles. I could see the girl from Panama inside the old lady walk. Does August see himself as he might have looked without the single gene that caused this catastrophe to his face? I wish I could ask him this stuff. I wish he would tell me how he feels. He used to be easier to read before the surgeries. You knew that when his eyes squinted, he was happy. When his mouth went straight, he was being mischievous. When his cheeks trembled, he was about to cry. He looks better now, no doubt about that, but the signs we used to gauge his moods are all gone. There are new ones, of course. Mom and Dad can read every single one, but I'm having trouble keeping up, and there's a part of me that doesn't want to keep trying. Why can't he just say what he's feeling like everyone else? He doesn't have a trach tube in his mouth anymore that keeps him from talking. His jaw's not wired shut. He's 10 years old. He can use his words. But we circle around him like he's still a baby that he used to be. We change plans, we go to plan B, interrupt conversations, go back on promises depending on his moods, his whims, his needs. That was fine when he was little, but he needs to grow up now. We need to let him, help him, make him grow up. Here's what I think. We've all spent so much time trying to make August think he's normal that he actually thinks he's normal. And the problem is, he's not. Oh, two just like such good chapters that show Via and her personality and her thoughts about her brother. So I have a couple questions for you. I will leave them in the comments. I'm going to let you kind of choose. Choice one is based on the description that Via gives us. I would love for you to draw a picture of what you think August looks like based on Via's description, and you can just go back in the video and listen to it again if you need to. Question two, I think, would be like, do you relate to Via's relationship with her grandmother? Like, is there somebody in your life who you are super close to, like Via was close to her grandmother, that maybe you lost, or can you relate to that loss and how it might have impacted Via? So I'd love to hear about that. And question three would be, how does that last chapter, the one that I just finished reading, what does that show you about Via's feelings about August? All right, fourth graders, this is kind of a longer video, but I'm looking forward to your responses. Bye. See you tomorrow.